Welcome to the midnight train to Sleepy Hills. We hope you enjoy your ride, and we ask all guests to be aware of your surroundings because there is danger in Sleepy Hills. Additionally, we'll be releasing new episodes weekly, so stay tuned and please like and subscribe. Now, back to our latest installment. Lucy tried to comfort her furry friend, but she knew that it was going to take more time than she could afford. The urgency to do something was still very strong within her. Billy was somewhere out there, and the police were not going to find him. However, did she really believe that she would? She carried her furry friend in her arms and waited for the tail to finally soften up and not shake back and forth. What she didn't understand was that the rat shocked the cat. Were not cats supposed to go after rats anyways? The question hovered in her mind. In any case, she needed to continue on her walk. Lowering the cat back to the ground after rubbing its head had reduced some of the cat's fears. She gathered her belongings at the stone bench, which consisted of her straw hat, which actually belonged to George, a water bottle with a chest strap, a trusty walking cane, and the black broken rubber piece that likely came from the undercarriage/bumper of the car that ran over Billy last night. Okay. Are you ready, little buddy? Lucy said this with a bit of impatience in her voice. It's not like she didn't care for the cat, but there were more pressing matters, like finding out where did the strangers take Billy. What did they want with him? With a new sense of purpose, she left the stone bench and the shady tree which protected her from the harsh sun. Entering the sidewalk, and the punishing sun resumed its attack on her while walking down the street. There must be something I can find. Her furry friend resumed following behind her, and the church slowly faded, and they eventually crossed Summer Lane Boulevard. Lucy's pace of walking increased whenever she was heading towards downtown. The traffic made her nervous, since it seemed most drivers today were more concerned about the phone than actually driving. "Stay close," she said with a more forceful tone towards the cat. The last thing she needed to deal with is the cat being hit by a car. With a bit of pep to her step, and the cat staying close to her, they eventually made it to the outskirts of downtown. The trip was anything but easy, and if George heard that she had taken possible evidence from a crime scene, he would be less than supportive of her actions, as she could imagine the expression on his face. At the same time, she had a terrified cat in tow, heading towards the busiest part of Sleepy Hills, downtown district, and had she known that she would be carrying such baggage, she would have likely canceled her mission. I must be losing my mind, she thought. Crossing the third busy intersection, a car which had an impatient driver honked the horn at her. While this normally wouldn't have bothered her, this was no normal day. She gave the impatient driver her meanest look, and that seemed to decrease the hostility. However, in most things, fighting fire with fire generally only made more fire. Turning her focus from the nasty driver, like a mother duck, she made sure the cat was still following close behind. The pressure decreased a bit as they made it across the last busy intersection. Back to the Joneses' home, George was still beat from all the gardening him and Lucy did yesterday, and the insane episode that had unfolded last night, with Lucy waking up to the crash. He felt bad that he wasn't able to contribute more to the events that occurred. The best he could do was make a hot cup of chocolate for Lucy. The look Lucy made after he finally handed her her glasses was a look of anxiousness, but more importantly, there was real fear in her eyes. George casually looked at the glass-framed picture of himself at his retirement party for 30 years of service on the force, which was proudly presented at the left-hand side of the fridge. It had been a lifetime ago that he was on the force. He knew the accident report would likely pick up dust in a filing cabinet or disappear in the vast void called the hard drive. George again thought about what his wife had told him and the police who arrived at their home last night. Green, glowing-eyed individuals taking a victim of a hit and run. The story sounded nuts to him, but Lucy was a straight-laced woman and was as level-headed as they came. It didn't sound like the strangers were taking an accident victim to the local hospital. It would be strange to move, let alone pick someone up that was just involved in a devastating accident. "Damn it, George. You gotta do something," he said, this in a pleading tone as he continued to look at his retirement photo. "Lucy will not let this go, and you shouldn't either." He wrestled with the idea because lately it just seemed like he was just waiting to die. Then a smirk formed across his face. Although he was nowhere as fast or as strong as he once was, he still had his mind and a gumshoe spirit that refused to die. Just yet. He slowly arose from the kitchen table and walked over to the sink. There, he started to open up some drawers. There, in one of the drawers, was the trusty yellow book. He freed the book and took a notepad with him, back to the kitchen table. However, before he was going to start his own inquiries, he still needed a bit more fuel. Lucy and the cat were making progress, but the reality of the situation was that she didn't have a single clue on to go. With the cat close by and the broken rubber piece, the adventure continued. They traversed the concrete padded sidewalks, and it appeared that the city hall was starting to get closer. As Lucy got a better look at City Hall, she could see some workers building a stage with a podium at the center of the stage. Oh great, another meaningless speech from our fearless leader, Lucy said with an accompanying eye roll. Their mayor wasn't a terrible man, but the streets were falling apart and crimes were starting to rise. Moreover, he was more concerned about building an additional power plant that may attract more industry. But that shouldn't be at the price of a crumbling city and a spike in violence. The most insane part in all of this is no one is willing to run against Joseph Murdoch. When she spoke to some of her friends in the knitting club, they all seemed to like the mayor. Walking past the stage area, there were 2 American flags presented on either side of the stage, with a large cluster of flowers at the base of the podium. A gentle breeze refreshed her as the stage faded from view. The comforting breeze was short-lived, and the punishing sun was all too eager to pounce on her. As she made a quick glance behind the cat, there wasn't much going on there. So her next objective was to look for a more shady spot to take another break. It was at this point her shady spot appeared to be a few blocks away from City Hall, at a small park. The park had quite a few trees with a generous amount of shade and stone benches. In spite of this, there was something else that attracted Lucy, and that was what appeared to be the back entrance of a car repair facility. She sat on another stone bench underneath a nice shady tree. There across the street was a large dumpster, and sticking out of it was a black car bumper. What seized her attention was there was a partially torn piece from that large black bumper. She lifted the torn rubber piece and wondered. After a short rest, she resumed on her adventure. She quietly walked over to the dumpster, holding the black rubber piece with a death grip, albeit she ignored the sign saying no trespassing at the gated entrance that wasn't closed off. Could this bumper belong to the car that was involved in the horrible accident the night before? The thought excited her, scared her, and more than anything, she wanted to see if it was true. As she neared the dumpster, and the sound of the air tools echoed from the large steel buildings where repairs were likely being conducted, it was with great care and hiding behind pillars of rubber tires she avoided detection. When she was sure the coast was clear, she looked down and said to the cat, "We got this." As she moved slowly and lowered herself closer to the ground, she eventually made it to the dumpster. The only problem was that she was too short and the dumpster was slightly elevated. This would not stop her as she angled the rubber piece in her hand above her head. Amidst the sound and the heat, it appeared that it was a match. And that concludes our episode for today on the midnight train to Sleepy Hills. Please stay tuned next week for our next episode and follow the journey of what occurs in the town of Sleepy Hills. Do you sleep